Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All distinguished guests seated here today, all participants. As I was telling the people seated around me, when you are required to be one of the last speakers, there are advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that you'll find that everything that needs to be said has, of course, already been said. And that's how I feel this evening. Therefore, I like the fact that at the end we are talking about a call to action, meaning that despite the rather detailed presentation that I had, I can find some solace in merely addressing the final theme, that is the call to action. That seems to be the general theme here, that it is important. When we were last, this conference was last in Munyonyo in Uganda. That was in 2011. As I understand, about 7 years ago, it was then chaired by our Vice President in Uganda. And now 8 years later, 7 years later, surely we must be able to ask that what have we done in between then and now? We must be able to have boxes that we can tick rather than come back to another conference and then find that we are beginning sometimes the same discussion all over again. So I wanted to share what did I get in the last 2 days, starting from yesterday. What did I pick that I thought was tangible, that I thought that I could take back with me to my home? The one was in the presentation by Dr. Murungi. She spoke about what she described yesterday as a simple aspect of change. In that one, she spoke about pink files. If those of you were here yesterday, she said that in the court system, there might be files with a regular color, and then they adopted pink files for children. So that meant that every time a court clerk, a judge, a member of the registry saw a pink file, he or she was immediately made aware that this is to do with children, and therefore would fast track it. I thought, simple as it sounded, it was a very brilliant idea, because then it means that everybody is subconsciously made aware that as long as I see a pink file, I need to do something extraordinary. I need to do something different. I need to do something quicker. So in terms of the call to action, I thought that was very brilliant in the context of us taking back to our homes what we can do to change. Another thing that I found yesterday that I heard was from the gentleman from Cameroon, I think, Mr. Bright from from Malawi. No, it was the gentleman from Cameroon who spoke. Yeah, I'll come also to the one of Malawi, who spoke about post-conference assessment. And he said, as I remember, that immediately after the conference, at the next conference, we must have a post-conference assessment or a post-conference analysis, so that we can be able to say, when we were in Addis in May, we said X, Y, and Z. Now we are in, say, Nairobi. What did we do since all the proclamations that we made in Addis? What did we do at the beginning of the conference? And so that we tick them off. Why? Because we would run the obvious danger of saying the very same things, and then there will be no progress, in my view. So I thought that was a very good also proposition in terms of a call to immediate action. I think it was the same from Mr. Bright from the University of Malawi. I put it under the same topic. It was again implementation. So in my view, the issue was about ticking the boxes immediately from one conference to another, so as not to have what somebody described yesterday as a sense of a paralysis of defeat, that every time we gather together and we speak as if we didn't speak the last time. So I thought that was another point to create a segment for ticking the box from what we were last time. Then again yesterday, and I was discussing it with some of my colleagues after the session of yesterday, the example of the 16-year-old girl who in India, the girl who was raped, and somebody told us the story. I also watched it this morning on television, and there was some local justice meted out to the perpetrators. Clearly, it was not enough, most of us thought. But what happened next? They attacked the girl, they attacked the family, they killed the girl, and some kind of justice is going to be meted out of them. But you can imagine the audacity, the sheer audacity, the arrogance of these people going back to add insult to injury, so to speak. So when I was thinking about that, I was saying to myself, here I am. I serve today as the Attorney General of the Republic of Uganda, and I have a forum. There are many forums in the world today, just like this one. I sit on a forum of Afro-Asia Attorneys General. We had our last meeting in Nairobi last year. And I sit with the Attorney General of India, the Attorney General of Pakistan, the Attorney General. And I was saying yesterday, there is the Minister of Gender, I think, from the Sudan, who is among our distinguished guests this evening. South Sudan, the Minister of South Sudan, Gender of South Sudan. And I was thinking and discussing yesterday that, again, under this theme, what is the immediate call to action? If I rang my colleague in India, the Attorney General of India, or for that matter wrote to him, and the minister from South Sudan wrote to her counterpart in India, and we said, what happened in this state with this young girl is completely unacceptable. We must do something about it. Because we are seated in the government, and of course we have some influence with our colleagues across all borders. So I was saying yesterday, then we ask to go, and we go and meet the Attorney General of India, the Minister of Gender of India, or any related ministry, and then insist together that we go to that town, the town where that incident happened, just to go there physically. And this is a request that you make to your colleague in cabinet. He will do it for various reasons, because in international politics, I have something to do for the Attorney General of India in terms of geo-regional politics. And I say, we want to go there and simply make a case. We are bringing the members of our Global Conference on Child Justice. We bring about 3 of them, and we go into that specific town in the face of the cameras, and we say, first of all, this incident is known all over the world. It has been beamed all over the world. It is unacceptable practice. We are here to tell all the people to rejuvenate them so that they can try themselves to continue to resist. And that in that context, in my view, it would make a huge impact. I think it would make a huge impact, both in that place, in India itself, and that everybody should know that everybody is watching. So in terms of what we need to do. Now, I already said that being the last speaker, you have a lot to say, but you think it has already been said. The final one was that what will therefore be the qualitative leap? Can we define qualitative leaps in terms of what we can do qualitatively, so that somebody can see that the conference itself generated some reaction, and that this reaction was positive. I thought that I should say that because, and then on my just prepared remarks, I would just basically recall that the conference happened in Kampala in November of 2011, and just share with you that in our country in 2016, in heeding the call to action that had been made, so that was in 2011, in 2016, we were trying to heed the call to action which was made at the end of the Kampala conference under what was described then as the Munyonyo Declaration, which was urging all the states to make children's rights and welfare and justice a priority on their development agenda. We, in Uganda, we enacted amendments to our Children Act, Chapter 59 of the laws of Uganda. This act, the initial act, was promulgated in 1996, and even the one in 1996 was itself revolutionary because it introduced in our country a special court for child offenders. and we called that the Family and Children's Court. This operation was anchored on the guiding principles which we spelled out in the schedule to this amended act. I'm trying to say that we took action after that Munyonyo declaration. We actually took steps to amend our act. Following our amendment, our act now places special emphasis, among other things, one, the paramountcy of the welfare of the child whenever the state or the court or a tribunal or a local authority or any other person determines any question with respect to the upbringing of a child or the administration of a child's property. We brought this up to the fore. We also talked about the duty of the courts and other persons to at all times be guided by the general principle that any delay in determining any question which concerns a child is prejudicial to the welfare of the child. We brought that up into our law. A child's right as well to effective legal aid, including representation in all matters, whether civil, criminal, or administrative. We made sure that that was also brought in our amendments. Then we talked about the relevance and applicability of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children. We ratified it. Then we provided for the establishment of a National Children Authority, and that National Children Authority, we charged it, among other tasks, with the creation of awareness of the right of a child to be protected from abuse. That was our first task. The second one was we recommended legal and other reforms required for the effective implementation for the prevention of child abuse. Then also we tasked the National Children Authority with monitoring the progress of all investigations and criminal proceedings which relate to children and child abuse, and also to take appropriate steps where necessary to secure the safety and protection of these children who are involved in criminal investigations. Then we have in Uganda what is called the JLOS, which is a Justice, Law and Order sector, which is supported by the UNICEF. We are implementing what we define as a J4C program, and this has continuously worked towards mainstreaming juvenile justice in the delivery of our services. The structures which are there, which are created, include children's court in every magisterial area. That means that you are spreading this all over the country. Family and child protection unit in every police station. Children detention facilities at the police and remand homes, and also emphasizing zero tolerance to children in adult detention facilities. Then we went to non-custodial sentences. Justice for Children coordinators, we continuously engage the trial magistrates and advocates for non-custodial sentences for children who are in conflict with the law. This resulted in a reduced number of juvenile offenders ending up in detention. Last year, we had 2,587 juveniles, 2,587 against whom a crime had been proved, but only 730 received custodial sentence. So, a whole 1,848, about 71%, received non-custodial sentences. This increased number of non-custodial sentences is attributed to this continuous engagement with the shareholders. So we are trying to say we are practicing what we preach. Diversion, which is the channeling away of criminal cases which involve a child away from the criminal justice system, with or without conditions, especially children in conflict with the law from formal judicial proceedings. Currently, 80% of the judicial cases are diverted after investigations, compared to in 2016, 68%. Under the diversion, social workers liaise with what we define as a fit person when dealing with these cases. They endeavor to carry out social inquiries in order to support causes of diversion. They visit remand homes to compile data about juveniles and provide technical advice on juvenile cases in court, especially if there is no representation. A fit person is a person of age, but he has no blood relation with the child they work with for purposes of rehabilitation. So I'm just doing this in a hurry. As a country, Uganda has conducted a comprehensive survey on violence against children in order to establish the intensity and magnitude, the nature, and the culprits. We have now finalized the report, and it is informing the development of an action plan on violence against children. We have also recently established a Uganda Child Helpline. It's toll-free, 116, to enable reporting and rapid response to cases of child abuse in Uganda, in order to ensure efficiency and effectiveness. Then a previous speaker, Kay, is she Kay? I think Kay, yes, she reminded me now that in her presentation earlier today, that in Uganda now, starting in this year 2018, we are no longer taking children to the remand centers. We are now, in conjunction with NGOs, we are reintegrating these children either into homes or into vocational training centers. So we are, again, back to my theme of we are trying to practice what we preach. As a Pathfinder country, we are among prioritizing the review of orphans. I'll skip that. We are trying to strengthen sectoral coordination and ensuring that ministries, departments, and agencies can collaborate to ensure speedy conclusion of cases, harmonization of standards, rehabilitation, and construction of specialized detention centers. There is dire need to address the issue of insufficient human resource. This is where we have problems. We need to address the number of people who work in these centers, and we must also ensure their capacity, people in probation and also social welfare officers. I would like to thank, I think, running out of time and allowing an opportunity to everyone to speak. Finally, promoting child rights awareness at the community level, because there is limited awareness of child rights. A previous speaker said we should not treat the children as though we are doing them a favor. They are completely entitled to their rights. It is not a sin to be a child. Everyone was once a child. Then, of course, existence of civil society and academia to establish these strong partnerships, dissemination and popularization of parenting guidelines, ensuring adequate funding for proper functioning of the justice, law, and order sector, creation of adequate awareness of the law, policy, and procedures in the justice system. Then, of course, a mindset change. That's the big one. We all need a mindset change. I just wanted to conclude by saying a very, very small little story. I am myself the father of an orphan, a boy who had been abandoned. His name is Zeb. He's now 14. But when Zeb was growing up, his greatest love was trucks as in trailer or trucks. So at every birthday of his, the only present he wanted was a truck. If it was Christmas, we gave him a truck. If it was his birthday, we gave him a truck. And Zeb was all over himself because he'd always receive a truck. One day we went to London and we went into a shop called Toys R Us. And we took Zeb to the section that had trucks and more trucks. So Zeb sat down and he looked at all these trucks, and then he told me and Jackie and my wife that, Mom and Dad, there are so many trucks. I just want to go back home. Because he was completely overwhelmed. And I wanted to say that when I came here, I thought that we were going to make an insightful contribution, but I've been completely overwhelmed by the amount of information and good discourse that we have had here this afternoon and over the past 2 days. I'd like to thank all of you. I'd like to tell my team that having seen what you contributed, we are ready to, like Zeb, to go back home. I thank you all.
Thank you, Minister. Your Excellency.